Wow, you are so smart. It is one of the most common phrases in modern parenting. We operate on a widely accepted theory that praising a child's intelligence builds their confidence and gives them the motivation they need to learn. But educators frequently observe a phenomenon called gifted kid burnout. These are naturally bright students who sail through their early assignments with ease, only to completely collapse the moment they encounter a subject that requires the slightest hint of actual struggle. The exact words adults use to build these children up, praising their innate ability, are the very things destroying their resilience. To understand why our best intentions so reliably backfire, we have to look at a landmark 1998 psychological study that completely upended how we think about achievement. Psychologists Carol Dweck and Claudia Mueller organized a massive study at Columbia University, bringing in over 400 fifth graders to test how praise impacts development. The experiment began by giving all the students a highly achievable, nonverbal IQ test. The problems were easy, and every child succeeded. Now, here's where the intervention happened. The researchers divided the successful students into two distinct groups to receive slightly different feedback. Group 1 received performance praise, which validated their intelligence. The researchers told them, "Wow, great job. You must be really smart at this." Group 2 received effort praise, which validated their hard work. "Wow, great job. You must have worked really hard at this." That single linguistic shift, changing a few words in one sentence, created two entirely divergent psychological trajectories for the remainder of the study. Next, the researchers gave the students a choice. For their second test, they could either take a harder exam that would be a great opportunity to learn something new, or they could take an easy test that was similar to the first one, where they would surely do well. This chart maps out their choices, and the divergence is massive. 67% of the kids praised for being smart chose the easy option to protect their title. Meanwhile, 92% of the kids praised for their effort chose the harder challenge. Then the researchers forced all of the students to take an impossibly difficult test. It was designed so that absolute failure was guaranteed. The behavioral reactions split again. The smart group got frustrated and tended to give up early. The effort group worked longer, pushed harder, and actually reported enjoying the puzzle. Finally, all the kids were given a third test. This one matched the exact same easy difficulty level as the very first baseline exam. This graph tracks their final performance compared to their baseline. The group praised for their intelligence actually did worse on the easy questions the second time around. Their average score plummeted by 20%. The group praised for their effort did significantly better, raising their average score by nearly 30%. That created a massive 50% total performance gap between the two cohorts. But the most disturbing finding happened off the test. When asked to write down their scores on a confidential sheet for anonymous peers, the kids praised for their intelligence were highly likely to lie and misrepresent their actual performance. Praising intelligence does not build real confidence. It builds a fragile ego that is terrified of making a mistake and being exposed as a fraud. Dweck explains this behavior through the concept of a fixed mindset, also called the entity view. This is the belief that ability and talent are innate, unchangeable traits. You either have it or you don't. If your identity is built entirely on being naturally smart, failing a task carries a heavy logical consequence. It means you must be dumb. In this mindset, having to try hard is seen as a sign of weakness. The contrasting framework is a growth mindset, or the incremental view. This is the belief that intelligence and skills are malleable properties that can be developed over time. A growth mindset processes failure entirely differently. A poor test score does not mean you lack innate ability. It simply means you need to increase your effort or find a new strategy. The exact words we use to praise a child push them toward one of these two mindsets. The language adults choose dictates how that child will perceive their own identity the next time they face adversity. The practical solution to this problem is known as process praise. Instead of congratulating someone's natural talent, you commend their persistence, their focus, and the specific strategies they use to tackle a difficult problem. Teachers pair this with lessons on neuroplasticity. They explain that the brain acts like a muscle. When it engages in rigorous, difficult work, it physically grows and forms new connections. This introduces one powerful word into a student's vocabulary. It shifts them from saying, "I can't do this," to "I can't do this yet." Process praise removes the suffocating anxiety of having to be perfect on the first try. It gives children direct agency over their own cognitive development. However, recent science provides a reality check. Data from the Education Endowment Foundation and the University of Edinburgh shows that running mindset interventions in schools does not automatically result in massive leaps in academic grades or general cognitive ability. And there is a real risk to overemphasizing effort. If a student tries their absolute hardest, spends hours studying, and still fails the test, praising only their effort can actively damage their self-esteem. The theory also carries a known cultural bias, so that when a person inevitably hits a wall in life, they view it as a problem to be solved, rather than a final judgment of their worth.